It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
Oh, Sunday morning, time to talk cars for the next 60 minutes on your weekly automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles, and you're listening to America's Automotive Radio Show. Keep connected on FM News 101 KXL. Test Miles, locally created, nationally celebrated. On today's show, we'll be talking about the cars that we have been driving. Also, Editor-in-Chief of Test Miles, Jeff Zerschmied, will tell us about car data security. Dan Lacey is here from Bob's Auto Cafe. We'll find out what the cafe is serving up. And we'll talk product. Ryan is here from Afterglow Detailing, and we'll find out about some fresh new product that he has been testing. So a packed show. One of the cars I've been driving this week is the Hyundai Veloster. And this vehicle is interesting. And I think it's one of the vehicles that hits the list of most underbought small cars. It is a very small three-door, I guess it's a four-door vehicle, but one that includes the hatch at the back. It has two doors on one side and one door on the other. At least that's the way it was originally marketed. I don't think that's the best attribute of the vehicle. It's, I think, very similar platform to the Kia Soul, but a very different vehicle than the Kia Soul. And when I say undershopped, I mean, it's one of those cars that actually has spirit, it has vigor, it looks great. And if you buy the turbo version, it drives well. But a lot of people pass it by because they don't consider it to be a fun family car, which is exactly what it is. On the inside, there's a 7-inch touchscreen. The interior space, 105 cubic feet, push-button start. Those interesting door configurations, 5-star crash safety rating, and also has lots of other electronic driving support things, I guess you would call it, including the vector control, torque vector control. The panoramic sunroof, I think, is kind of cool, and the fact that it has the dual-tipped chrome exhaust.
Would you really consider this a family car?
Yeah, absolutely, as long as your family is not, you don't have adults. Because there is room in the back seat.
How much room? I mean,
enough room to get a kid under 14.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's the thing that's very positive about the car is a lot of times I will like a Hyundai Accent. I have a friend who has one, and I saw one. I actually used one as a lift car when I was in Chicago. The guy, as soon as I got out, moved his seat back so he wasn't sitting on top of the steering wheel. And you don't have to do that with this car.
Is this car kind of like how Mini is, where the looks are just deceiving, and once you get inside, it's bigger?
105 cubic feet, I think, is pretty nice interior. Pretty good size. 1.6 litre four-cylinder engine. It gets about 201 horsepower when you top it out with all the extras. I think a very nice transmission in it. It is front-wheel drive, and you can get up to 36 miles a gallon. What does it go up against? Probably something like the VW Golf, the Honda CR-Z, the Ford Fiesta, the Fiat 500 maybe, although the Fiat 500 is considerably smaller. You'll find 6 different trim levels. Hyundai always coming up with a new trim level. And the Blue Link system, which is powered by Google, which I really like. So about 24,000 is the top, starts at 18,000. And I would tell you, probably one of the cars I think is most under considered when you look at that whole region of small cars, which a lot of people are doing now, especially if you live in an urban area. Now, I also want to go into something. If you look at car commercials recently, you know we're hearing this on TVs and commercials, identity theft. You hear about it all the time. How can we protect ourselves? What can we do about the data that we create in our everyday lives to make sure it doesn't get to the wrong person? And you pay your phone and all your information to your vehicle. How do we secure that? How do we know that the data that our vehicle generates about us is not going to the wrong person? The fact that your car is a portal to the web is a consideration for a lot of people, especially because information is coming in and out of your car. What if someone was to hack into that information and get it? Or what if your car stored information that you didn't want it to have? For instance, a lot of times you can unlock your cars by remote control. What happens if someone locks you out and wouldn't let you back in your car unless you paid them some money? That sort of modern ransom that we've seen with computers. Is it possible that car companies are not protecting us well enough? Our friend Jeff Zerschmied from the Oregonian and the chief editor of Test Miles is here. Jeff, you've been working on a story. How secure are our vehicles?
The short answer is that automakers have made great leaps forward in this stuff. There was a very famous Jeep hack a few years ago where they were able to take control of a Jeep. Some hackers, although the hacker in question was a professor, so they were working very legitimately, and they included Jeep on everything that they found, and Jeep fixed it. They pointed up a weakness, and this is the way that computer security always happens, right? Somebody finds a weakness, they fix the weakness,
right,
and they move forward. So things are now actually very good in terms of that. What interests me more is actually the quote unquote legitimate uses of data that are generated. Specifically, I've been looking into insurance companies who want to offer you a little device that you plug into the OBD2 port on your car, and they offer you a discount on your insurance for it. And what they don't tell you is that they are logging absolutely everything about where you go and how you drive. And yes, they offer you a discount for being a good driver, but they don't tell you exactly what you have to do to qualify as a good driver. So those standards could change. And in some cases, you got to read the fine print, because in some cases they'll say, if we think you're a bad driver after we log everything that you do, how fast you take corners, how fast do you accelerate, how many times do you have to anchor the brakes?
And presumably once that information is out there, presumably once somebody knows about that you may have trouble erasing that in the future.
You've agreed to let them, when you take their little device to monitor your driving, you have agreed to let them have full access to your data. They own that data now. And in some cases, and this is one of the things that everybody thinks, well, yes, if I speed, they're going to think I'm a bad driver. One of the other things that they're doing, though, is they're logging absolutely everywhere you go via GPS, right, so that they have a complete record of which road you took at what time to go where. Every trip you take in your car now owned by your insurance company, and they can set your rates based on the claims history of the roads that you drive on. So in some cases, it doesn't even matter how good of a driver you are. They'll say, well, yeah, but you're driving on Germantown Road, and so we have a big claims history there, so we're going to raise your rates. They also can raise your rates based on what time you drive. They don't like you to be driving between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. Right, because those are high accident times. And so people who work odd shifts, for example, maybe folks who work at the radio station late at night, you'll
pay higher insurance rates. Here's the interesting thing about that.
It goes into it, yeah.
Yeah, so in Oregon, there's a law on the books that say that they can't raise your rates, but it doesn't stop them putting high rates in place and then discounting them.
And then discounting them for the people that they want to.
Right. You had a question, Sean?
Jeff actually answered it. It was just basically they can raise your rates because you drive in a bad neighborhood or somewhere that actually has high theft problems. And right, it's not the problem that you're there. You just have to work there, so you have to travel through that location.
So they're trying to even it out. So presumably then everybody's going to want to move to the good areas, have the jobs and the good roads, and then suddenly the price is going to go up of everything.
Well, that could be one response. I think that overall we're going to just need to look at what's being done with the data that our cars are generating, and how is that data being used.
And at this point, you presumably have asked them the hard questions.
I have, and the insurance companies have insisted up and down that they will never use this to raise your rates. They will only use it to offer you a discount. There was one exception. If you read the fine print on Progressive, they'll say that if they don't like your driving, you could see higher rates.
And they're the only one that's admitting it.
They're the only one that's admitting it. But this, we just heard the news item at the top of the hour about Apple and the iPhone, and some of the same issues are coming up with cars. And most notably and famously, when the guys who bombed the Boston Marathon were on the run, the FBI and police pretty much knew, they strongly suspected that these guys had stolen a Mercedes-Benz, right, to get away.
I think that was very clear. Yeah. I mean, the woman had said she'd been jacked. And
she'd been jacked by these guys who matched the description of the terrorists. And so the FBI called Mercedes-Benz and said, can you tell us where the car is? And Mercedes said, not only can we tell you where the car is, would you like an audio feed from inside the vehicle?
Really?
Yeah, because if you've got voice control, There's a microphone. It's always on.
Right.
And the
so
voice
they were
control
able to listen to that.
Yeah, if the voice control for any of the connectivity services such as OnStar or BlueLink or any of those, right? You have to be able to talk to it. It has to be able to listen to you and make that data connection out. So that was a case where, personally, I'm very glad that they were able to use that information to help track down these guys who did this awful terror act. But you have to then ask,
what else are they listening to?
What else could be listened to? Yeah. And do we want that? And so I'm not saying that any of this is necessarily evil or bad, but it's something that needs to be clearly understood so that you can make
it could end up hurting us as well as helping us.
You need to be able to make an intelligent decision.
What ends up happening in the future when somebody comes up with a kill switch in the car, which can be perhaps that'll be one of the new tech things where you can push a button in the car and it'll stop sending data and stop recording and all those type of things. Maybe I should have said that out loud. Maybe I should be working on one.
And you can do that now. If you buy the base level cars, they don't come with all this stuff. So if you're concerned about that, don't take your insurance company's device and buy the base model without all of the fancy electronics.
Yeah. Now what I'm going to, and then I'll take it into Peter at Mobile West and have him put in the fancy stuff that doesn't communicate with anybody. You see, that's what I'll do.
There you go.
All right, you're listening to Test Miles. Coming up on the show, we're going to find out about a new cafe, but it's not the kind of cafe you're thinking about. We'll tell you all about that. Plus, we'll have some product review, and we're going to be joined by Meguiar's, who are going to tell us why they are the product of choice when cleaning your car. That's coming up on Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.